Most people never see the signs of financial wealth in their own life. Michael couldn't either, until that one night. Every night before bed, Michael would pick up his phone and scroll through photos of Florida villas. Villas with blue pools, wide yards, and shiny cars parked in the driveway. At work, he'd talk with his coworkers about successful people, the ones who drove Teslas, spent summers in Europe, and posted photos of expensive dinners on Instagram. He figured they were rich, and he wasn't. Not yet. Still in that average house in the suburbs, still driving the same 4-year-old car, still living a life that looked like nothing special from the outside. One evening, Jennifer called from the kitchen. "Michael, the car broke down. The mechanic says it's $800. Michael put his phone down and said, "Okay, we'll take it in tomorrow morning." Then he went back to his phone. Jennifer looked at him for a moment. She'd been waiting for him to frown, take a deep breath, say, $800? Are you serious? But Michael was calm, genuinely calm. Jennifer walked to the bedroom and sat on the edge of the bed. She thought back to 3 years ago when a pipe burst and cost $400 to fix. Michael had gone 2 weeks without saying a word, barely eating. Back then, every unexpected expense felt like an earthquake that shook everything. But now, $800, and Michael hadn't even flinched. This was the first sign. Michael just couldn't see it. The following week, his manager, Mr. Harris, held him back after a meeting. "Michael, we have a consulting project with a big company. Good money, but it's intense. 6 months, and you'd need to be available on weekends, too. I think you're the right person for it." Michael was quiet for a moment. The offer was tempting. The money was good, and Mr. Harris was telling him directly that he trusted him. 2 years ago, he would have taken that offer with both hands. But he said calmly, "I appreciate you thinking of me, Mr. Harris, but it doesn't line up with my goals right now." Harris looked slightly surprised. "You sure? It's a real opportunity." "I'm sure," Michael said. Harris left, and Michael went back to his desk. No anxiety, no worry about whether Harris was upset with him. He just knew that 6 months of weekends at home with Jennifer and Lucas was something no amount of money could replace. That no hadn't come from fear. It had come from somewhere steadier. This was the second sign, saying no from a place of strength, not fear. That night, Michael sat down at his laptop and opened his monthly budget. It was something he never would have done 3 years ago. Back then, looking at the numbers made him anxious, so he avoided them. But now he looked at them the way a gardener checks on plants, calmly, with curiosity. He knew exactly how much he had saved, how much he'd invested, what his monthly expenses looked like. The numbers weren't his enemy anymore. They were his guide. This was the third sign. People who are building wealth don't run from their numbers. Jennifer sat down beside him. "How did we do this month?" Michael said, "Good. We saved 4% more than 6 months ago." Jennifer laughed. "Remember when we thought if we just made more money, everything would work itself out?" Michael laughed too. A few months back, he'd gotten a raise. He'd expected everything to change, but it hadn't. He just saved more. That was it. This was the fourth sign. More income, not more spending. Later that same night, Michael was closing his laptop when Lucas came and sat beside him, eyeing the screen with curiosity. "Dad, what are you doing?" Instead of saying, "Go to sleep," Michael turned the screen toward his son. "I'm checking where our money went this month." Lucas frowned. "Where does money go?" Michael smiled. "If you don't watch it, it just disappears. But if you pay attention, you get to decide where it goes." Lucas thought for a second. "Like telling it where to sit?" "Exactly. See this part? That's savings. This money stays here and grows. One day, this money will work for us without us having to do anything." Lucas's eyes went wide. "Money can work?" "Yeah, but first you have to teach it how." Lucas went off to bed, and Michael watched him go. There was something in that moment that was bigger than any number on his laptop. What he was teaching Lucas, That was something he himself had only figured out years too late. This was the fifth sign. When wealth is passed down to the next generation, it's no longer just money. That night, before bed, Michael picked up his phone again. But this time, instead of Florida Villas, he opened his investment app. He looked at the number. Somewhere in his chest, he felt something he hadn't recognized before. Something quieter than excitement. Something closer to certainty. He still didn't have that Florida villa. He still didn't drive a Tesla to work. His life looked no different from the outside. But Michael still thought he hadn't made it yet.
Meanwhile, wealth, quietly, without any announcement, was taking root. Right there in that average house. Right there in that ordinary life.